Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. That is our third and inshallah the last lesson about al-urf, the customs. And the first point we want to discuss is the kinds of the customs, the kinds of al-urf. So the first thing is that it can be divided into a verbal urf and a practical urf. It has been defined, as Ibn Abidin has written, what is al-urf al-qawli, that some people, they use a word in a certain meaning, and whenever this word is meant, whenever this word is mentioned, all the people understand the very same meaning. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah has said, Al-Haqiqat al-Urfiyya, the reality of al-urf, if a word has become known to have a certain meaning by way of urf, not by way of language, then this meaning, either it is more general, more common than its linguistic usage, or is a bit specific, or it is totally alien to it. Now he has given for these three classifications, these examples. For example, the word in Arabic al-raqabah, which is neck, fakku raqabah, and al-ras, the head. That is, of course, by these two words, specific organ of the body is meant. But in the urf, it is used for the whole body. When you say fakku raqabah, set a neck free, means the whole slave. The second thing is that the word gives a very common meaning, but because of urf, it becomes specific. For example, in Arabic language, the word dabba is used for anything which creeps on the earth, but now it is specifically used for the animals with four legs. In the same way, the word al-mutakallim means every person who can speak, but specifically it means the person who speaks about ilmul kalam. Ilmul kalam, the knowledge of aqidah. In the same way, the word faqih, faqih means the person who got understanding, but specifically it is known for such a person who got understanding of fiqh. Now the third classification is that the name becomes very popular, not in its original meaning, but something totally alien to it. For example, al-gha'ib, al-gha'it. Now the word al-gha'it, literally it means al-mutma'innu min al-ard, a soft earth, soft place in the earth. But what is the meaning for which it is used even in the Quran? It is used for a person to go to the toilet to relieve himself. In the same way, there is a word, this al-dha'ina. Al-dha'ina, yani al-dha'ina, that is now, al-dha'ina, actually it means the animal itself on which a person rides. But now specifically it means the woman who rides the camel, who rides any transport, that any animal transport, you can say. Now let us take another example of the verbal urf. The word al-walad normally people use it for a male child, though in Al-Quran it is used for both male and female. يُوصِيكُمُ اللَّهُ فِي أَوْلَادِكُمْ لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you this wasiyah about your children, that a male child would have a double share of a female child. Now come to the practical urf, al-urf al-amali. Those type of practices which are adopted by the people in a certain land. For example, in a certain place, if the people have fixed a certain amount for labor, then that is their urf. For example, if the taxis, they charge a certain amount for a certain distance, then you don't ask them because it is known by urf. In the same way, Bai'ul Mu'atat. Bai'ul Mu'atat means that people know by the custom that if you pick a thing from a shop and then you pay the price and the seller accepts the price, the dealing is done. There was no bargaining, there was no even statement that I sell and you buy, nothing. Because people know that once you pick a thing and give its money, then the deal is done. So these are some examples of the practical urf. Now there is another classification of urf, which is the general urf and a particular urf. General urf is which is known to all the people. For example, people they all know what are the names of the days of the week. And in the same way, they all agree upon the beginning of the month and the end of the year. And al-urf al-khas, the specific urf is which is only known either in one place or among a group of people. For example, as far as the grammarians are concerned, Arabic grammarians, when you say al-fa'il, they say that it means the subject. And of course, linguistically, it only means fa'ala yaf'alu fa'il, the person who does something. In the same way, al-urf al-khas, when you rent a place, in some countries or in some places you have to give the rent in advance. And in some other countries you have to give it by the end of the month or the end of the year. Now let us take a few more examples of such type of urf, customs which are valid in the eyes of Sharia. Of course, we must understand that sometimes the urf keeps on changing because of the change in the conditions of the people, in the places and in the times. For example, the person who has divorced his wife or his divorcee is suckling his child, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لِيُنْفِقْ ذُو سَاعَةٍ مِّن سَاعَتِهِ وَمَنْ قُدِرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقُهُ فَلْيُنْفِقْ مِمَّا آتَاهُ اللَّهُ لَا يُكَلِّفُ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا مَا آتَاهَا سَيَجْعَلُ اللَّهُ بَعْدَ عُسْرٍ يُسْرًا. The person who got some richness, he should spend out of his richness. And the person whose life is not so rich, he can spend in whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him. So there is no specific amount. It is according to the urf. In the same way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that the person to whom a child is born, he has to maintain that child according to al-ma'ruf. وَعَلَى الْمَوْلُودِ لَهُ رِزْقُهُنَّ وَكِسْوَتُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. The person to whom the child is born, he has to maintain the children and he has to clothe them. So how much maintenance, how much clothing, that is again according to the urf. In the same way, what is the distance in which a prayer is shortened? the best saying is the saying of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. He said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they come to speak about shortening the prayer and breaking the fast because of traveling, they did not give a limit for that traveling. They did not differentiate between a long traveling or a short traveling. If there was any limit for the traveling, Allah and the Prophet ﷺ must have explained it. Even in the language, linguistically, there is no limit when the word safar or traveling is used. So what we have to say, that we have to look at the urf. In the urf or the custom of the people, whatever safar, whatever journey is known as journey, you are allowed to shorten the prayer in that journey, and you are allowed to break the fast in that journey. In the same way, what is the explanation for the socks or for the khuf? Khuf is made of leather, and the socks, they be made of cotton or wool. What type of socks or what type of khuf is that type of khuf that to which your foot is sticking and it does not come out of it? Or it may be tall, you may not walk in it for a mile. Nothing is stipulated by Allah and the Prophet ﷺ. So whatever is known as a khuf is valid for this permission. Another example is that the person who breaks his oath, he has to feed 10 masakin. فَكَفَّارَتُهُ إِطْعَامُ عَشَرَةِ مَسَاكِينَ مِنْ أَوْسَطِ مَا تُطْعِمُونَ أَهْلِكُمْ. The kafara is to feed 10 masakin, but from what type of food? Which is a moderate food which is known among you. So in the same way, the kafara of the person who kills an animal in the state of ihram, he has to find out a similar type of animal, similar to the one which he has hunted, and to offer it as sacrifice. The person who does zihar to his wife, and he says to his wife that you are just, your back is just like the back of my mother, he has also to give a kafara, and one of the kafara is to feed 60 masakin, poor people. So what is the limit of that food? How much food should be given? Again, it is in accordance with the custom of the people. Just look here. For example, in England, you have to give a miskin one-time meal. So one-time meal may cost here 5 to 7 pounds. But in India and Pakistan, it may cost from 50 to 60 rupees, which means less than a pound. So the main thing is that we have to feed them for one time for each kafar. And again, what type of food? The food which is known to that country. In some countries, rice is the main food. In other, bread is the main food. So this is why you have to take into consideration the food of that country. Another example, which is a thief's hand should be cut if he has stolen from a preserved place. So what is a preserved place where that money or that thing was kept in total security? So we say that this preservation is known according to the urf itself, and we know from that urf that whether this thing was preserved or not. He has given some more examples of that type of urf which is known as far as our language is concerned. For example, if a person took an oath and he said, La rakibtu dabbatan I am not going to ride a dabba. And we have explained that dabba is used for an animal. But in some countries it is only used for riding a donkey. So if he has to ride a horse or a camel, he is not going to break his oath. In other country it might be used for a camel, for a horse. So then the meaning would change. In the same way, if a person has said, لا اشتريت كذا ولا بعته ولا حرست هذه الأرض ولا زرعتها. I am not going to buy such thing, I am not going to sell such thing, I am not going to cultivate that land. So he uses that word in an oath. So he did not do by himself, but he asked someone to do it. He would be breaking his oath, because that is the oath, that even if a king says that I am going to make a big castle, he does not build it by himself. He asks someone to do it for himself. But it is always attributed to the king that this castle was made by such and such king. Another example, if a person taking oath had said, I am not going to eat the head. And in that city or in that place, when you say that I am not going to eat the head, they mean the head of a sheep. So, if he eats the head of a bird, the head of a fish, then he is not going to break the oath. Again, if a person said that he is not going to eat a dead flesh, and then he ate a fish, he is not going to break his oath. Why? Because fish is not included in the dead. Another example, if a person has taken an oath that he is not going to place his foot in someone's house. Now he entered that house either riding or on the shoulders of someone, still he is going to break his oath. Why? Because when he says that I am not going to put my foot in his house, it means I would not enter into it. It does not literally means to place his foot. Another example, if a person has deputized someone else to sell and buy on his behalf, so the deputy is bound to contract according to the custom of that people. He should charge the money, or he should charge the price according to the custom. He should buy according to the custom. It would be a very stupid action on his behalf that he is given deputization to sell a house which costs 100,000 and he is selling it for 1,000. Why? Because this is not the urf of that country. In the same way, if a person who is very noble, he deputized someone else to wed his daughter to someone, and he wed her to a person which is not known with deen, and which is fasiq, it means that this person did not do his duty, because the custom demands that when a person asks you to wed his daughter, you must find a suitable person for him. In the same way, if you have deputized someone to rent your house for a year, again, the renting should be according to the custom of that place. You are not going to charge a very little amount when the urf is to charge a better amount. In the same way, if a person has asked someone to make something for him or to sow something for him, then it should be done according to the custom of that place. For example, if it is a piece of cloth, that abaya, for example, please sew for me an abaya. So this abaya should be according to the way the people in that city dress themselves. Another example is of that person, the laborer, who does any work of labor for someone, so he deserves that amount of wages which are known in that place. Another example is the people entering into public bathroom or hotels where the people could enter without permission. So, because they know that the custom is that these places are public places, you can enter it, but you have to pay a certain amount. Or in the same way, you have to stay there, not for a very long time, for a time which is enough for your bath. You can enter into that public bath. Another example is if someone sells his house, which was surrounded with a garden, then the garden would be a part of that deal. Now let us move to another very important discussion. Sometimes some urf or customs are based upon certain known things. So if these known things or customs are changed, then you have to look at the changed version of that custom. You can't just stick to the book and say, oh, the custom of that country was such and such. No, the custom has changed. For example, the jurists, they all got the consensus that when you use the word an-nuqud, the coins, that people have to do their deals in some coins, so it means the coins which are known to that place. So if the coins have changed, it used to be dirham and dinar, but it is no more dirham and dinar, it becomes pounds, then we have to deal in the one which is known to you. Even that custom, if it is changed within the same city, or if a person has moved from one city to another city and the people got another custom in that city, so as Qarafi has said that a scholar should give his fatwa according to the custom of that place from where the question has risen. Qadi Ismail has said that in the times of Imam Malik, for example, when a man marries a woman, he is not going to consummate this marriage until she receives all the dower amount. So this is why, if there is any dispute about the dower, then you have to listen to the saying of the husband, because he was the one responsible to give the dower before coming to his wife. But he says that, Qadi Ismail says, now the custom has changed. Why? Because now the custom is that she has to receive after the consummation, or vice versa. And the first custom was to receive the dower after the consummation, and now the custom has been changed and she has to receive the dower amount before the consummation of the marriage. Imam al-Qayyim has discussed this point of changing of fatwa because of the change in the circumstances of the people, in the times, in the places, in his book I'lamul Muwaqqi'een, and he got a lengthy chapter about this issue, where he has discussed about Sharia, and Sharia is good for all time and for all places. And he said in the end, whenever the urf comes to be renewed or comes to be changed, then don't go back to the books where the old custom is written down. No, you have to consider the present custom. If a person comes from a place other than your place, ask him about his customs, and according to his customs give him fatwa. In the same way, Ibn Abidin has written a very good treatise, Nasr al-Urf, about al-Urf itself. And he has also said the same things which was said by Imam Qayyim. And Ibn Abidin also said in his book that you see that our mashayikh in our mazhab, sometimes they have gone against what the other people have written in their books. Because those people, whatever they have written in their books, that was according to their times. But now the time has changed. So this is why our fatwa is going to be changed as well. In another next chapter, he discusses about what are the reasons behind the change of the custom. He says that there might be many reasons behind it. The first reason is that people sometimes they got dissension or different types of opinion about their ways of eating and drinking and even clothing. For example, in some countries, to have a cap on your head is a part of muru'ah, that you are a man. And in other parts of the world, just to leave your head without any cap, that is acceptable. In some countries, this is the custom that the woman after the wedding remains in her house and the man enters upon her there in the house of her father. But in other countries it seems to be, or it is taken as very, very bad habit. Again, countries differ as far as their weather is concerned. Some are very hot, some are very cold. Some are hilly stations and some are just plains. So this is why it brings different type of attitude among them. In the same way, people also differ from each other in their own temperament. When a person comes to the age of majority, a boy or a girl, that is again differs from place to place. And this is why we can't give a fatwa about what is the shortest period of menses or what is the longest period of between two menses. We can't give a general fatwa. We have to look at the custom, or we have to see at the custom of the woman in that place. Again, among the reasons for that change is that the rulers, the thinkers, and the scholars, they got a great impact upon their people. And because of their rulings and decisions and the laws which they bring, the customs of the people keep on changing. In the same way, for example, in Turkey, in the times of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, when he made having this Roman type of cap for the men, all the people, they started using it, and then it became just like their own local custom. And similar examples in other countries. Another reason is when people, they are confronted by other people, either because of conquest, because of colonization, they get impressed by the customs of other people. Those people who are dominated normally accept the customs of those who are dominant. That is true. We know that all those countries which are colonized by the Western power, especially by English, the people there, they have accepted many foreign customs. And the last thing here is that people, when they use to speak about their own intentions, they got different ways to speak about themselves. And this is why some people, they use a certain name for a certain thing. Other people, they might be using the same name but for another meaning. So you can't say that this word which is used by us in a certain meaning is the very same meaning which is used by the other people. No. It differs from place to place. Now here in the next discussion, one point which has been mentioned before as well, that because of the change in the custom, the later people, they have given a ruling which is different from the first ruling. And we also come to know that the jurists among Ahnaf in the later days given fatwa against that fatwa which was given by their ancestors. For example, their ancestors did not allow for a teacher of Quran to receive a payment. But the later jurists have allowed it. Why? Because there were no more ruling authorities to give the teachers their wages. And the poor teachers of Quran, they were just left to the mercy of the common people. Same could be said about the imams of the mosque, muazzineen as well. And he also mentioned that during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, women used to enter into the mosque and pray there, but later, because of fitna, they were not allowed to enter into the mosque. And here I have to comment here that this custom, yes, it has been changed from time to time, but once again, the time has come when the women, they freely go to the mosque and they enjoy praying there. And if you stop them from going to the mosque, they will object to it. So it means the custom has changed. Yes, they were allowed, then a long period when they were not allowed, then once again they are encouraged to enter into the mosque. Here in the end, the book has given, or the author has given, a summary of all the discussion in 9 points. And with these 9 points, we are going to finish that discussion. The first thing is al-urf wal-'ada. What is custom and what is 'ada? Things upon which the people are known to practice them. Either it is a saying or an action or something which they abandon. And there is no difference between urf and 'ada as far as the fiqhi terminology is concerned. Number 2, for all the human customs, there was a great status in all the countries and all the nations. And according to these customs, they used to legislate. And because of these customs, people were kept away from following the Quran and Sunnah, from following the revelation. Even in this country, common law is known, very much. Common law was the thing which was known to the people. And that common law differed from province to province, from one county to another county. And still in England, still there are so many laws which are coming from that era of common law. Number 3, Al-Araf al-Bashariyah, the human customs, like the man-made laws, can't be a decisive factor to run the human communities. This is why Islamic Sharia did not give a lot of consideration to urf, but it has limited it in a very narrow, limited circle. Number 4, those people who wanted to let the Sharia out of their life, they have utilized this custom to meet their objective. So it means these customs were used to let Sharia not enter into our practical life. Number 5, Al-Urf, whenever it is acceptable to the Muslims, it is confined to 2 matters only. The first, to explain such type of text which got no limitation at all, which is not explained linguistically, not explained in Sharia. So then the explanation comes from urf. Secondly, those types of rulings, Sharia does not mean to implement them in a certain way. Sharia just wants that these things should be done. How they should be done, that was left upon the urf or the custom. So this is why the kayfiyah, how these rulings should be implemented, are left to the customs known in that particular society. Number 6, though many scholars, they do consider our urf as one of the evidence, but it is not an independent evidence from al-fiqh al-Islami, from the Islamic fiqh. But it is an evidence which always in need of support from another evidence. Number 7, even that urf or custom which is acceptable to us, there is a conditions to accept it. It must not go against any text of Sharia. It must not go against any qaida, maxim or principle of Sharia. It is also stipulated that it should be something which is known generally. And another condition is that if there are 2 contractors contracting upon any things, if they agreed upon certain conditions, then these conditions are to be considered. And if they did not mention any conditions, then of course the custom would enter. And we say, all right, according to the custom, the contract is so and so. But as long as they have mentioned something against that custom, then you have to take into account. Number 8, the custom is either a verbal one or a practical one. It could be a general one or a specific one. And that was the lesson today in the beginning. Number 9, we should not confine ourselves on those rulings which were known in a certain place long ago, when we know that these customs have been changed. And if you remain practicing those type of customs which were prevalent long ago, while these customs have changed, then you are doing injustice. And this is the greatest injustice which is attributed to Sharia. And Sharia got nothing to do with that. And with that, alhamdulillah, with that we come to the end of this very useful, beneficial book, Al-Araf al-Bashariyah fi Mizan al-Sharia al-Islamiyah, the human customs in the scale of Islamic Sharia, by Dr. Umar Sulaiman Abdullah Al-Ashqar. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward him for explaining that issue in such a nice way. And we also pray for all the students of the knowledge to take that knowledge, absorb it, understand it, and then once you got some knowledge, then try to spread it. Spread it in the best possible manner, in the most accurate manner, without adding anything to it or deleting anything to it, from it. وصلى الله تعالى على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Sheikh, just one question. Because Sheikh, you said the urf at the beginning, because the Prophet ﷺ, he forbade people to forbid the woman to pray in the masajid. He said you should not forbid you woman praying in it. But then the Hanafi scholars, the late ones, they forbade it. And even nowadays in England, lots of brothers, they're complaining that even the council, they say you must give a space to women. They don't allow. And even women are traveling, if they're traveling from the cities. They say in some place in Birmingham, they say just give us a room. They say no, it's not allowed in our fiqh. So one sheikh, he was telling us, it happened in Birmingham, they want to pray in the church next to the masjid. When he saw they would not allow her to pray in the masjid, he gave her a room to pray. But why
this is a very interesting question, because this is not only the matter of urf, it is the matter of that urf which goes against Sharia. And we have said very clearly when we were explaining the principles of urf, when it is going to be considered, that it must not go against any Sharia text. So this issue of women entering into the mosque, there is a very clear-cut instruction from the Prophet ﷺ, لا تمنعوا إماء الله مساجد الله. These are the slave girls of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't stop them from entering into the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that was the guidance by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, when there was a time of fitna, for example, it may be a general fitna where people are fighting each other, then even the men may not go to the mosque. They will pray at home because of that fitna. This is another type of fitna, killing going on. But this fitna, the fitna of the woman, that they are going in their full beautification and in an attire which may attract other people, we will say yes, that is fitna. So they should not be allowed to go to the mosque. But it does not mean that those people who are following Sharia and following the adab of Sharia, they should be stopped as well. And a person can stop his own household for that reason of fitna when he sees that his own wives or his own daughters, they are not following the dress code of Islam. So this is why I say to them, no, either you follow that dress code or you don't go to the mosque, because you are going to tempt the people and create fitna and earn some sin by doing that. So here we have to differentiate that this urf of women not going to the mosque, did it change completely? Yes, it changed, and we must not deny that because of the insistence of some Ahnaf scholar that the woman should not go to the mosque, and he has mentioned it, that people are impressed by the rulings of their ulama, of their scholars, and also the laws of the rulers. They are impressed, so their urf changes. So it means that this urf has changed in so many countries. Wherever there was more authority for such type of scholars, they say, no, you can't take your women to the mosque, and they did not allow a space for them in the mosque. So this has changed for quite a long time, but as we said, that nowadays with the spread of more and more knowledge, and with women coming out of their houses and they are working in public places, they are working in offices. You see, even in some very preserved type of countries where women were not allowed to work, they have given them license to work as well. So it means that is going to change their work. They can see the woman in their offices, and with the passage of time that will become a norm. So we would say that the urf which was known in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, that the women were allowed in the mosque, now they are in a similar situation, and in the name of you can say, in the name of the woman who wants to practice Islam freely, this type of permission should be given to them, because it does not go against Sharia. It is akin to Sharia, it is in accordance to Sharia. So we should allow it. That's what I can say in that connection. Jazakumullahu khair.